Hello, I'm Deirdre Breakenridge, and welcome to Communication Makeover, where intentional communication can lead to those breakthrough moments in business and in your life. Did you ever notice that sometimes when we communicate, we don't always come across the way that we want to, and it doesn't resonate with our audiences? Why is that? It can be little steps to create breakthrough transformation. For example, let's say that you've worked on a project and you've put your heart and soul into it, and there's planning and time and development and a lot of your energy. And then you launch and it just doesn't pan out. Is it you? Is it perhaps an outside circumstance? And if you had the chance to do it over again, how would it look? What would change? I bet that path would be different. And that's where our show starts today because Todd is coaching Jason Mollica, who is a professor at James Madison University. Jason is also a strategic communication specialist, and he's about to embark on an adventure, possibly a podcast adventure. He's done it before. And let's take a listen because Todd is going to work with Jason through the coaching process.
Hey, Jason, how are you doing? I'm excited to have you on today. Especially as the executive producer of Now Media, this is something that we work with on a regular basis. So, talk to me a little bit. So, if I'm understanding correctly, you had a podcast before during COVID. And then now, as a professor of communication and in sports broadcasting, you feel like you've got this urge that it's time for something new. Tell me a little bit about what you're wanting to accomplish.
Sure. Well, when I originally had a podcast with a colleague of mine, it went really well and we were enjoying it. COVID hit and it just really we were both obviously affected in many ways because we couldn't get the traction anymore. And although we both had a great experience, as the years have gone on, though, I have been drawn back to wanting to do something like that. And having been in communications on the television and radio side in my first career, I've always had this sort of desire to continue to do something that could give back, feel like I am doing something where I could interview people and being able to talk about things that I've learned in my career and my life in broadcasting and public relations and in teaching, but also be able to share the stories about what others are doing. And it didn't have to be just PR sports. It could be life. It could be people that are really looking to make an impact. But I wanted to do that. I wanted to do something where I felt like I have fulfillment in my teaching life right now, and I have a great family life. But I want to do something that's able to kind of fulfill me from that perspective of I want that little nugget where I can feel like I'm doing something when I make the time to do something like a podcast where I can really do something that is a really I don't want to keep saying impactful, but at least something that I feel like I'm not scratching the itch either, but having a good time and doing something I would enjoy.
You said an interesting word there, Jason. You said give back. What is it you want to give back? I think because that's ultimately at the core of where the message will actually lie. What do you want to give back?
Well, there's so many people that I've come across in my career, and I'm not saying I know everyone, obviously, but I've come across people in both sides of my careers, or I should say, the three sides of my careers, that have been people that have either I've looked up to or have worked with, that have in many ways qualities that more people need to know about. They may be known in some markets. They may be known in Philadelphia or New York or Dallas or San Diego, California, or maybe even West Lafayette, Indiana. But there are people that I would love to talk to so they can be heard by even more. And again, not to say that all of a sudden I'm going to create this podcast and it's going to be heard by millions, but it's something where I want to be able to develop it so that way may have given me a little something that they don't realize. And I
Yeah.
want to be able to give back by telling their stories, but also sharing some of the times that we may have had the opportunity to spend together, both in and out of the studio, the classroom, and the workforce.
And if you tell me if I'm paraphrasing this back to you, but it sounds like you want to help some people be found again. some people that maybe, have a cloud over them, or just people just aren't aware of the brilliance that they bring. And you want to give back the opportunity of just helping some people be more visible, it sounds like. Is that one thing?
Yeah, and yeah, that's true. I would love to have that. And even if they're again, even if they're known by many people in some
Hmm.
ways,
Hmm.
they may not be known by people that are again that are stretched across the country. Even though we have so much access
Yeah.
to people, whether it's broadcasting, public relations, et cetera,
Hmm.
they're not everybody's paying attention because there's a lot of noise. So I hopefully I can cut through that in some way. I would love to cut through that in some way and provide real sort of realism in the sense to what I would like to do.
Okay, that's good. So I think that's one good, that's a good give back. What else are you wanting to give back? Eh, What do you want people to receive?
I want them to know that in many ways, I'm not doing this because I want recognition or I want, I want to be heard across the globe and be number one rated or anything like that. What I'm looking to do is twofold. Number one, I want to be able to. I love telling stories and I love to be able to dive into what people are doing and being able to learn more about them. But I also want to, in many ways, feel like I'm leaving something behind potentially for my kids. Not that they have to take over a podcast, but I want future
Hmm.
communicators to feel like it's not always the flashy, the big name. It's not always something like that. There, you can tell stories and you can convey something without all of the lights and bells and whistles. And in many ways, you don't have to be sponsored by someone to get
Yeah,
recognition. You can do it by just being honest and being, in many ways, showing that people have a normal quality about them.
I like that. So you want something that has can have some legs to it. That can go the distance. That doesn't feel like it's an ego play, which is lights and glamour, but something that's really sustainable. So tell me, go walk me. We don't need to get specific on the audience yet, but what do you want the people who watch it? What do you want them to receive so that they'd be like they're hungry for more? What would they be hungry for?
I would hope they're hungry for honest stories, and I would hope they'd be hungry for to watch or to listen along the way and feel like this is not just filler. They're getting something. They're getting something from people who maybe again work on at a television station. They may be in the classroom. I want them to know that yes, this is maybe a professor and has been had their PhD, but they're doing things there that people may not hear about because they're in the classroom or they may be published, but some people don't get a chance to see what they published. I want to be able to share with them the special qualities and feel like, you know what, even if they aren't on television, radio, they're not in sports, or they're not in entertainment, or they're not in the classroom, they feel like there's a piece of them that is part of that. They feel like they can be able to take a little something away and say, hey, you know what, I may be able to put that in my life in some way, or maybe it inspires them to say, I don't want to teach, but maybe I can, write a book in some way that really does give back. So I hope in many ways that it
Hmm.
inspires, but it's also not done in a way where it's hitting you over the head and you've got to do this, otherwise you don't get X. It's more of, I want to be able to talk with people and make it feel natural and be able to for people to feel like they have it in them to do the same things. It just may not be something that will be it's not something that maybe takes off right away, but it takes time. And I hope that would be something that people can take away from everyday life.
So is this people in the broadcast industry? So if you're building a funnel, it sounds like that's a very specific group of people. But in today's social media world with influencers, so is it a broader audience than that?
It would be a broader audience, even though I could say potentially I bring in a colleague of mine that I worked with a number of years back when I was in television. We still communicate over, social media, but also through text and everything. But and while he's known or they're known in a certain market, I still want to be able to tell their story to people because there's more to them than that. A they're not just a broadcaster in sports. They don't just cover a team. They
Yeah.
also have a background that really gives people like, oh, okay, sure, you're covering a game, but when you're finished covering a game, you're not always just always bought in. I do something outside of it that I think is pretty great too. So those are the sort of things I would love to be able to focus on and show people that, technically when the lights go off or when the microphone gets put down, they're doing this in the outside of it. And it's what everybody else could do as well.
Absolutely. It sounds like you want to get beyond the lights, the glamour, the feeling of the pizzazz and the magic, the magic glitter. And what's the real life behind, especially for the marketer or the influencer? That is a dynamic thing. So Jason, stick with us. I think we're getting really close, at least to identify who we really want to impact. Stick with us real quick, and Deirdre's going to wrap us up, and we're going to head into the next segment.
You were just watching Todd work with Jason to break down the situation, to get a better handle on what's the journey going to look like. And it sounds like Jason wants to be giving back, sharing stories so that people can learn. So stay tuned, because there's a lot more to come on this journey.